Have you ever stopped to think about whether artificial intelligence is really being made for everyone? In recent years, AI has stopped being science fiction and has become the center of business, social, and economic decisions. It is in almost everything, in the applications we use, in medical diagnoses, in job hiring, in our children's education, in finances, and even in legal decisions. We are witnessing one of the biggest transformations in modern history, but is everyone being taken into account in this revolution? Or are women once again being forgotten? This is the question that almost no one is asking, but which urgently needs to be brought to light. Because behind all this talk of innovation and progress, there is a silent pattern repeating itself. Decisions being made without the active participation of women, technologies being built with data that erase us, and algorithms that reinforce gender inequalities instead of breaking them. Do you feel this? That there is something wrong, even if you still can't name it? Perhaps the answer lies precisely here, in the way artificial intelligence is being developed, without considering the reality, challenges, and specific needs of women. The most worrying, this is happening now, and almost invisibly. In a world where everything is measured, evaluated, and decided by data, what happens when that data is historical, and therefore based on decades of inequality? What happens when the teams that train these machines are mostly made up of men? And more, what happens when algorithms start making decisions about your career, your credit, your CV, without you even knowing that you are being judged? It's not theory, it's real. Companies have already been reported for using AI systems that automatically eliminated female CVS. Recruitment platforms showed a preference for men for leadership positions. Female virtual assistants, like Siri, Alexa, and others, were programmed by default to obey, reinforcing stereotypes that should have been overcome. And in facial recognition tests, Black women suffered the most, with alarming error rates, a direct reflection of the lack of diversity in the creation of these technologies. Now, think about it with me. If the basis of AI is the past, and the past was uneven, what kind of future are we creating? This is one of the most urgent issues of our generation, but unfortunately, it is still not receiving due attention. Technology is advancing at warp speed, but discussions about gender equality within AI are lagging behind. And the silence on this is no coincidence. It's part of the problem. Meanwhile, women continue to be impacted without even knowing it. Missing opportunities, being poorly evaluated by automated systems, or simply not having their voices heard in decisions about what will be prioritized, automated, or excluded. Therefore, this video is not just another content about artificial intelligence. It's a warning. It is an invitation to wake up, question, and take a stand. Because if AI is going to shape the world in the coming years, and it will, we cannot allow it to be shaped without our perspective, without our reality, without our presence. The AI revolution is underway, but is it being done? With women, or despite of them? What few people realize, and what almost no one comments on, is that artificial intelligence, despite appearing impartial, carries within it the same prejudices and distortions as the real world. And this happens because AI is not born out of nowhere. It is trained with data, and these data are, almost always, reflection of an uneven past, built on decades or centuries of exclusion. When we say that AI learns from historical data, we need to remember that this data comes from a world where women have been systematically erased from positions of power, underrepresented in the areas of science, technology, and leadership, and treated as supporting actors in social, political, and economic decisions. Now imagine what happens when you feed a machine with this kind of legacy. She learns to repeat, and worse, amplifying. Let's start with the most structural point. Who is creating artificial intelligence? Today, AI development teams at large technology companies are mostly made up of white men, mostly North Americans or Europeans, coming from privileged backgrounds. And it's not just a question of aesthetic diversity. It's about experience, perspective, and sensitivity. When there are women involved in the creation process, model training, ethical review, and strategic decisions, what develops is a technology that it simply does not see women as active, complex, and multiple subjects. AI starts to make decisions based on a limited view of the world, and the result is a subtle but profound erasure. This erasure begins, for example, in the way recruitment algorithms treat female CVs. Did you know that one of the AI systems used by a large technology company even penalized résumés that contained words like female team leader, or that listed all female colleges as part of the candidate's education? The reason: the system was trained with data from previous hires, which, for the most part, prioritized male candidates. Thus, the machine learned that the ideal profile was male. Women were automatically considered less qualified, even with equal or greater experience. It seems absurd, but this has already happened, and continues to happen, in less visible ways, in thousands of automated selection processes around the world. Another even more common example is in virtual assistants. When you talk to Siri, Alexa, Cortana, have you noticed how all these voices are feminine, cordial, and submissive? They were programmed to obey, smile with their voice, accept commands without question. It's no coincidence. The companies understood that the public responded better to female voices, more welcoming, according to internal research. The problem is that this reinforces outdated stereotypes, that of women as assistants, secretaries, technology servants, assistants who listen and execute, but do not decide, who respond, but do not command. And when we put this on a global scale, the impact is brutal. Millions of people, every day, interact with artificial intelligence that teaches, subliminally, that a woman's role is to serve. A technology that, instead of freeing us from stigmas, packages them in modern packaging and distributes them as innovation. But erasure goes beyond visible interfaces. It mainly happens in automatic decisions that we don't even notice. Algorithms that define who receives a job advertisement or a credit offer, for example, can easily exclude women from certain opportunities, just because historical data shows that these women earn less, apply for fewer leadership positions, or have a higher risk of career interruption due to motherhood. Did you understand the problem? AI is not just reflecting the past. She is freezing this past in the future, turning historical inequalities into absolute truths, repeated millions of times per second, indecisions that seem neutral, but are not. And why does this happen? Because women are not at the tables where these decisions are made. The percentage of women in leadership positions in technology companies is still very low. In areas such as data science, machine learning, and software engineering, female participation is also far below ideal. And when we talk about Black, Latina, LGBTQIA+ women, or women with disabilities, the numbers plummet even further. Without this diversity, AI continues to be shaped by a limited perspective. A perspective that does not understand, does not represent, and does not prioritize the reality of most women. And this is not just an ethical problem. It's a practical problem. When decisions about what data to use, what parameters to apply, what metrics to consider are made by a homogeneous group, technology becomes ineffective, unfair, and dangerous. A serious example of this was a study carried out with facial recognition systems. The algorithms were trained with predominantly white and male images. Result: extremely high accuracy when identifying white men's faces, and absurdly high error rates when identifying black women. In some cases, more than 30% error. Now imagine this type of system being used in airports, criminal investigations, or identity validation. We are talking about real risk. Risk of exclusion, injustice, institutional violence. And most alarmingly, the companies responsible for these systems knew the risks, but they moved on. Because, once again, the female perspective was ignored. This erasure is silent because it does not come with fanfare. He doesn't appear in headlines. It happens in the small decisions that shape the digital world. In codes, in database choices, in moderation filters, in scoring systems. But the impact is profound. Why decide who is visible, who is trustworthy, who deserves attention, and who is disposable? Is deciding who matters. And right now, machines are learning that women matter less. This is not a cold, distant technology video. It's a video about how every technical choice can become social violence if we're not there to stop it. Therefore, we need to occupy this space. We need to be where the codes are written, where the decisions are made, where the tests are done. We need to raise our hands and say, this doesn't represent us, because a technological revolution that silences female voices is not progress. It's regression disguised as innovation. And now that you know this, the question is, what can we do to change this scenario? And that is exactly what we will discuss in the next block. Artificial intelligence is not just transforming the present. She is rewriting the future, silently, with mathematical precision, but without empathy. And in this digital rewriting, women are being left out of the footnotes. It's not about the future. This is already happening. We are seeing a dangerous and almost invisible movement, the silent replacement of mostly female roles by automated technologies. At the same time, systems that should open up new opportunities are, in practice, closing doors. Let's go in parts. Have you ever heard of automated selection processes, where the first screening of CVs is done by an algorithm? Today, thousands of companies around the world, including in Brazil and the USA, already adopt artificial intelligence software to filter candidates before any human being reads a single line of their resume. These systems use standards based on data from previous hires. They analyze keywords, length of experience, academic background, and even behavior on social networks. It looks modern, doesn't it? But now imagine that this database, used as the basis for training the algorithm, was built from hiring decisions made over decades in which men were prioritized for leadership positions. Women were seen as less trustworthy because of motherhood, and women's CVs rarely reached the final stage. The result: the machine learns that the ideal candidate is the man. And without realizing it, thousands of women's CVs are eliminated every day. Not because these women are less capable, but because the algorithm has been trained to reproduce an unfair standard. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's talk now about professions. According to the World Economic Forum, until 2030, around 800 million jobs could be automated in the world. And among the most impacted sectors are customer service, basic education, telemarketing, technical support, secretariat, human resources, translation, and text proofreading. These are areas where women represent the majority of the workforce, especially in countries like the United States, Brazil, Canada, and the United Kingdom. These are professions that require sensitivity, empathy, communication, organization, skills, traditionally associated with the female profile. Ironia. These are exactly the functions that AI systems are learning to perform. Today, chatbots are already replacing call center agents. AI-powered online learning platforms offer personalized tutoring for students without needing a human teacher. Virtual assistants make appointments, answer emails, and organize schedules without any human touch. And AI-based HR tools already perform candidate screening, performance assessments, and even automated terminations. If the majority of these roles are held by women, and if these roles are rapidly being replaced by AI, what we are witnessing is a mass layoffs disguised as innovation. And the most serious thing, there's no transition plan. New opportunities are not being created to the same extent to absorb these women. In other words, they lose their jobs and have nowhere to go. Now think with me, when a woman loses her job, the impact is not just economic. He is emotional, structural, and intergenerational. Many of these women support entire families. Many are solo mothers. Many have already faced immense barriers to get here, and now they find themselves being replaced by software that doesn't sleep, doesn't question, and doesn't get pregnant. This is not just unfair, it's inhumane. And even when we talk about professions in more technical areas, such as engineering, programming, or data science, inequality persists. Women who try to enter these sectors face veiled resistance, institutional prejudice, and are often placed in less valued roles, such as communication, design, or support, even with skills equivalent to their male colleagues. Without active inclusion policies, women's space in technology continues to be marginal. And AI, which could be a powerful ally in leveling the game, is being used to reinforce exclusion. Let's go beyond the job market. The exclusion of women in AI design not only takes away opportunities, she takes away visibility, removes security, takes away decision-making power. Do you know why? Because AI is also being used in areas such as public safety, health, justice, and finance. And in all of them, the absence of a female perspective is putting women at risk. For example, on security, facial recognition systems fail women more, especially women of color. This has already led to misidentifications, unfair approaches, and real risks to the physical integrity of women in countries such as the USA and China. In health, algorithms used to predict disease risk were developed based on clinical studies carried out mostly with men. Result: errors in diagnosing diseases that manifest differently in women, such as heart attacks. Injustice: criminal recidivism prediction software in the US has already shown bias against Black women, considering them to be higher risk than white men with a similar background. On credit, automated financial assessment systems often penalize women for lack of credit history, even when they are more punctual in payments. This limits access to finance, entrepreneurship, and financial independence. ID. When women are not present in technology design, they are also not at the focus of solutions. AI is being shaped by those who have the power to program it, and those who don't participate in its creation end up being programmed to lose. This needs to change, but first, it needs to be seen. Today, Many women still believe that AI is something distant, technical, outside their world. The truth is the opposite. It is already at the center of our lives, and ignoring this impact only makes us more vulnerable. Therefore, the tone of this video is warning. Because if we don't talk now about the erasure of women in the AI revolution, we will discover too late that we have been forgotten in the construction of a future that promises innovation but delivers exclusion. We need to ask uncomfortable questions. We need to expose the data, the errors, the silences. We need to create spaces where women can learn, teach, develop, and lead within technology. In the end, it's not enough to teach AI how to think. We need to teach her to see. And she will only see women if we are present. In the data, in the decisions, in the codes, and in the conversations. If this topic resonates with you, if you have ever felt like you are being made invisible in the job market or in technology, this video is your starting point. Because in the next block, I'll show you how to adapt, how to protect yourself, and most importantly, how to transform this scenario into a real opportunity. There is a way out, but only if we act now. So far, we've talked about erasure, about exclusion, about how artificial intelligence has repeated old patterns of inequality. But this is not a video about pessimism. This is a calling, a wake-up call. Because yes, there is still time. We can still change this scenario. But this will only happen if we rise up now, with awareness, presence, and action. Artificial intelligence is being shaped right now. She is still learning. It's still being trained. The systems, the algorithms, the codes are being written by people who, for the most part, live outside our reality. This means that there is still time to introduce new perspectives, to make our presence felt, to directly influence the direction this technology will take. But it doesn't happen alone. Female participation in the AI revolution will not happen by luck or concession. It will happen if we make a point of being there, if we participate in the discussion, if we demand visibility, if we occupy the space that is rightfully ours. Many women think they are not part of this universe because they are not engineers, they are not programmers, they don't know how to code. But that doesn't matter. You don't need to be in the technical field to be part of this transformation. Technology is part of your life. It already affects your decisions, your work, your income. And precisely for this reason, you have the right and the duty to participate in the conversation. Participating starts with something simple. Ask questions. Demand answers. Demand transparency from algorithms. Question how data is being used. Pressure companies to show what they are doing regarding equity. Every woman who consumes technology has the power to influence. Every voice counts. When too many women start making noise, silence is no longer an option. But questioning is not enough. You need to understand what is happening. Empower yourself. Get ready. Learn, even if little by little, even if scared, even if you don't know where to start. Because knowledge is your best weapon against exclusion. And we're not talking about learning to program, to write code, to develop robots. We're talking about understanding how things work. Learn the basics. Understand what an algorithm is. Know what a language model is for. Know the tools that are at your fingertips. All of this is already a huge step towards protagonism. Today, there are dozens of free courses on the internet, accessible platforms, YouTube videos, tutorials on social networks. You can start with 15 minutes a day, in your time, at your pace, no pressure. the most important thing is to start. Because the difference between who will be negatively impacted by AI and who will use it to their advantage is exactly here. The willingness to learn now, before it's too late. And after learning comes the most important step, positioning yourself. Show that you are here. Who is following the revolution? Who is prepared to occupy this space? It's not about waiting to be recognized. It's about presenting yourself with courage. Make yourself noticed. Create content. Share ideas. Participate in discussions. Contribute your point of view. Build authority. This positioning does not need to be grand. It could be a comment on a forum, a post on LinkedIn, a simple video on Instagram, a conversation in a circle of friends. The important thing is to show that women are, indeed, involved in technological transformations, who are studying, leading, innovating, because the world needs to see, and other women need to know they're not alone. The truth is that empathy, sensitivity, and intuition, which have so often been undervalued in the market, have now become fundamental. AI needs to learn from humans. You need to understand feelings, intentions, subtleties, and who better to teach this than women? Those who have always been forced to listen more, to feel more, to adapt to hostile environments. What was previously seen as a weakness is now a competitive advantage, but only if you're willing to use it, to be applied, taking on this leadership role, proposing new paths, building technology with soul. Because if it's not us, who will guarantee that AI is fair, safe, humane? And believe me, AI can be your ally. It can help you save time, working less, to be more productive, getting ideas off paper, to undertake, to scale your business, conquering freedom. But to do that, you need to stop seeing AI as a threat and start seeing it as a tool, a lever, a bridge. Many women are already doing this. They are using AI to automate processes, create content, generate income, and make decisions more intelligently. They are biding their time. They are growing. They are building a new reality where technology and femininity coexist, strengthen each other, complement each other. That's the most important point of this video. The AI revolution needs our voice. Because if it is not done with us, it will be done against us. There is no middle ground. Either we participate, or we are shaped by others. Either we decide, or we are decided. Either we program, or we are programmed. Exclusion is not an accident. It is a direct consequence of absence. Therefore, we can no longer accept being left out. Outside the conversations, outside of decisions, out of opportunities. We've spent too much time being spectators. Now, it's time to take on the lead role. AI is just getting started. The technologies that will rule the world in the next 10 years are still in development. They can still be molded. They can still be transformed. But only if you are there. Only if there are women sitting at the table. Women questioning, building, criticizing, innovating. And if that seems far away now, start small. Start with one step, with a choice, with an attitude. The movement starts with you, and little by little, it multiplies. Inspire others. It opens the way for many. Because when a woman occupies a space, she does not enter alone. She pulls others with her. It transforms. It revolutionizes. The future of technology is still being written. And the question remains, what role do you want to have in this story? AI is inevitable, but the way it will be used can still be chosen. And that choice starts now. Like you, with me, with all of us. Do you feel like artificial intelligence is being made without taking your needs as a woman into account? If this question bothers you, if it awakens something inside you, then you are not alone. More and more women are beginning to realize that, despite all this promise of innovation and progress, something is wrong. There is a constant feeling that decisions are being made by other people. That technology is evolving without listening, without including, without considering our experiences, our challenges, our dreams. And maybe that's the first step, recognizing that the discomfort is legitimate, that this concern makes sense, because behind the algorithms, the systems, the platforms we use every day, there are choices. Choices that directly affect our work, our access, our security, our visibility. It's not an exaggeration. It's not paranoia. It's real. And that's exactly why this video exists. To create a space where our voice can echo, where we can exchange experiences, share fears, but most importantly, build together the solutions we want to see. So I invite you now to participate in this conversation. Comment below. Do you feel like AI is being done without considering you? Which part of this video touched you the most? What is your biggest question or concern about the future of technology? This space is ours, and your opinion matters. It matters a lot, because the more women speak out, the harder it will be to ignore us. This is the time to join forces, to transform indignation into strategy, fear in learning, community isolation. The AI revolution is happening, and if we are not together in this construction, the result will be more exclusion, more inequality, more silencing. But if we are here, gifts, active, conscious, we can shape this new world in a more just, more humane, more inclusive way. A world in which technology does not erase women, but amplifies them. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be immediate. The most important thing is to start, to share, position yourself. One speech leads to another. One idea awakens another. And so, what was previously invisible becomes unquestionable. Therefore, leave your comment. Participate in the conversation. Bring your vision. Because the time has come to change this together. And now, pay attention to what I'm going to tell you. In the next content, I'm going to reveal the more subtle signs that you are already being impacted by AI, without even realizing it. Yes, even if you think you are not yet involved with artificial intelligence, the truth is that it is already acting in your life. Silently, every day, almost imperceptibly, but the effects are profound. And understanding this is essential so that you can protect yourself and position yourself. So subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and prepare your heart. Because what comes next could completely change how you see your place in the future. The revolution is happening, and she needs you. Until the next video.